All right, so today we're going to talk about the distributive property. It's a property we use quite a bit in algebra. It helps us when we have two things that are not like terms. And I'm actually going to start off with the definition, which you know I normally don't do. When we have a term or a number or a variable outside of a set of parentheses like this, we can literally know that the sign here is multiplication. We can take that and multiply by everything inside the parentheses. Now, while a times b plus c is one term, if you look inside, you'll see there are two. So we go from one term to two terms. Or later on, we can go two terms to one term by factory. But for now, we distribute, and I show the lines, the outside value to each of the inside values, or however many there are. But the question is, does it really work? And I think the easiest way to explain it, and a lot of times the books start this way, is to use numbers. Now, if I had 3 times the quantity 6 minus 4, I would view that as 3 times the quantity 6 plus negative 4. I would make 6 minus 4 into 2. And 3 times 2 is 6. This is the preferred method. But the question is, does distributing work with numbers? So now we have the 3 outside. We distribute to each of the terms inside the parentheses. So 3 times 6 and 3 times 4. And the sign stays the same. We get 18 minus 12, and we get 6 and 6. Now, this is the point where students oftentimes find this new skill so great, they start doing it all the time. When you can combine values like this left method is much preferred. So when I see a problem like this, I don't want you to distribute the 3. I want you to say 8 minus 1 is 7, because you can say 8 minus 1 is 7. It's an equivalent term, one of our rules of algebra. And 3 times 7 is 21. But what if you have 3 times the quantity x minus 1? Now it's one term, and we don't know the value of x. This is where distributing is really powerful, because I can take that quantity 3 and multiply to the x, and I can take 3 times the negative 1 and get from 2 terms inside the parentheses to 2 terms. 3 times x is 3x, plus 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, or 3x minus 3. Often now, the other thing we should realize at this point is this can be written another way. I can take 3 times x minus 1, or I could write x minus 1 times 3. I think the thing you have to realize is when it doesn't matter what order we multiply in. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. So let's do some examples. And I set up 4 in the quadrants. And we'll start up, and we'll go from first to second to third to fourth. And again, I would argue that this should be done 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. But let's do it by distributing, because a lot of times textbooks have you do it this way. So I'll distribute, and this time there are 3 terms. So there'll be 3 terms on here. 4 times 6 minus 4 times 2 plus 4 times 5. 24 minus 8 plus 20. 24 plus 20, I'm going to go 44 minus 8, and that is 36. On the second one, mn, which is 2 factors, but it's one product here, times the quantity x plus y plus 2p, one term. Inside the parentheses are 3 terms. So I know my final answer is going to have 3 terms when I distribute. mn times x. I'll just write that as mnx, plus mn times y. mn y, plus. Now, mn times 2p, mn 2p, but I like to put the number first as a coefficient, and mnp. 3 terms in my final answer because there were 3 different terms inside the parentheses. But again, realize this expression, as it stands, is one term. Now, quadrant 3. A lot of times now, I'm going to make move it. I'm going to put the 2x in front. A lot of students don't do this, but I will. And I go 2x times x minus y plus 3. Now there are 3 terms in the parentheses, so our final answer will have 3 terms. I'm going to write it out. 2x times x is 2xx minus 2x times y, and the minus came from here, 2xy, plus 2x times 3. 2 times 3 is 6x. Now, we don't like to go xx, and we haven't talked much about that yet, but x times x simply means x squared. You notice that we moved 2x to the front. There were 3 terms inside the parentheses, even though this currently is 1 term, ended up with 3 terms. So when you look at quadrant 4, how many terms should there be when we're done? 2. 2 inside. And again, I'm going to rewrite it first. And a lot of students skip this step as we get good at it. 3 times negative 4. I'm going to write that as negative 12. 3 times positive x plus 3x. And that would be the answer. Now, one other rule in algebra we should talk about right now is this is 2 terms. We often write the variable first. So the coefficient 3 in x, this term would go first, plus a negative 12, because the sign is always to the left. Again, this comes with practicing. It's an important skill for solving equations. It's called the distributive property.